Ah, good afternoon, everybody, and a happy new year to one and all. Yes, I'm not sitting down. I am, in fact, attempting to stand on one leg, which, for various reasons, I found quite difficult. Maybe it's because I'm a bit top heavy. But as you get older, you lose your sense of balance. But apparently you can retrain it. So I've set myself, if you like, a New Year's resolution to stand on one leg, well, both legs, but one at a time, for 20 seconds. I think my record up to now is about 8. So I've got a fair way to go. I'll keep you posted on that one. Meanwhile, that's better. Normality has returned. Well, I hope your New Year started off a little bit better than mine. I got bitten by a dog. A friend of mine was walking up the street with a little French bulldog on a lead, only a tiny thing. And being a dog lover, I bent down to give it a friendly pat. And it bit me. She did warn me. She said, "Be careful, he bites." But I adopt the policy that I'm a dog lover. Dogs know that. And always approach a dog sort of like that rather than like that. And if you tend to pat them on the head, they can see that as a sign of aggression, which puts your fingers in danger. So I approached him like that, and he bit me on the wrist. I don't know if you can see or not. So there we are. I might have to revise my attitude to dogs. Anyway, I think it was a one-off. Well, today's topic is the weather. Don't switch off. I know it's a boring topic, but boy, have we been having some weather recently. There's a reason for it, of course, for me making weather the topic, which will become apparent in a few minutes. As I speak, the sun has just started to shine outside for the first time in about 2 weeks. And doesn't it make a difference to see the sunshine? It really does. Anyway, I'm going to start off today's video with a little poem called Rain. Yeah, Rain. It's a poem that will be very, very familiar to people in New Zealand, which is where it came from. It was written by a chap, although it is supposed to be anonymous, but it's reckoned to be written by a chap called Bill Wright, who lives in a little community on the west coast of New Zealand, which is notoriously wet, called Hokitika. And he wrote this poem, which has become a New Zealand classic. Most everybody in New Zealand probably knows it, so apologies to any New Zealand viewers who are watching. And this is the poem that Bill Wright wrote. Oh, that Bill Wright wrote. It's called Rain, and it goes like this. It rained and rained and rained. The average fall was well maintained. And when the tracks were simple bogs, it started raining cats and dogs. After a drought of half an hour, we had a most refreshing shower. And then, the most curious thing of all, a gentle rain began to fall. Next day but one was fairly dry, save for one deluge from the sky, which wetted the party to the skin. And then at last, the rain set in. So, that was Bill Wright's experience of the West Coast New Zealand weather. One little expression in there, raining cats and dogs, is quite interesting. The origins of that expression, I've researched it and nobody really seems to know, but one popular theory is that in the 17th century, in England anyway, there were lots of stray feral cats and dogs around, which obviously died outside. And whenever there was a heavy downfall, these tended to get washed out into the street, so that when people finally ventured out, it looked as though it had been raining cats and dogs. Well, that's one explanation. The good old days, eh? Anyway, one of the problems with miserable weather, and November and December, especially in the UK this year, have been really dismal, depressing and wet, to say the least. And one of the problems associated with this sort of weather is a thing called seasonal affective disorder, SAD. It's a well-known condition, and a lot of people suffer from it. And I hadn't really been feeling up to scratch for the last 2 months, and I began to wonder whether or not I was suffering a little bit from seasonal affective disorder. So I looked it up on the internet, of course, and the symptoms are a loss of pleasure or interest in normal everyday activities, irritability, feelings of despair, feeling lethargic and lacking in energy, and sleepy during the day. Oh dear. More or less exactly how I've been feeling for the last 6 to 8 weeks. Well, I looked up as well some suggestions for alleviating the symptoms, and here's a little list of what I came up with. Number 1, rearrange stressful activities or events for another time. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Number 2, plan relaxing activities that might help improve your mood. Yeah, go along with that. Number 3, plan ahead, such as stocking up on things you need. Can't see the point in that one. Number 4, make more time to rest and do things you enjoy. Yes, definitely. And number 5, this is a rather curious one, create a self-care box. Well, I haven't got a clue what a self-care box is, but if you do, create one. And number 6, get a light box. Well, again, I wasn't too sure what a light box was, but apparently it's just a light, which is a very bright light of a certain wavelength, a bluish sort of light, which attempts to imitate sunlight and is supposed to alleviate symptoms. Until I discovered that people who use light boxes can very often complain about irritability, headaches, nausea, eye strain, sleep disturbance and insomnia. I think I'd rather have SAD than that lot. But anyway, I do think a light box is a good idea, used moderately. Sunbeds certainly aren't. Don't fall into the trap of sitting in a sunbed all day. That'll cause more problems than it cures. Researching on the internet is very often not a good idea. A friend of mine, I was talking to him one day, and he was describing his symptoms to me, and he decided to look up on the internet as to what the possible cause may be. So he put all his symptoms into this little questionnaire thing on the internet, and it turned out that he had all the symptoms of a prolapsed womb. Well, that didn't really cheer him up at all, however. I actually stopped researching when I came across this statement. Depression is a lifelong condition and there is no cure. Well, that may be true, but it's a little bit negative, and I know for a fact that there are certain things that you can do to relieve depression, which is what SAD is. It is a form of depression. and I'll give you my little list of ways to do it. I mean, I'm lucky enough to live with my family, and I get lots of personal contact every day, and I think that's important. Don't sit on your own looking out of the window watching it rain, because that will make you SAD for certain. Now, do things, be active, mix with people, discuss whatever it is, this sad thing, with other people. They may be suffering as well, and problem shared and all that. Listen to music, read a book. I've actually started to relearn playing the piano. Don't ask me to demonstrate, because I'm just as bad now as I was when I first started trying to play the piano 50 years ago. You can go on the internet and see things, learn to play the piano in 6 weeks. Well, you're a better man than me if you can learn to play the piano in 6 weeks. Well, I started to learn the piano. As I say, I'm just as bad now as I ever was, but nevertheless, I still get a lot of pleasure from messing about with it, and very often come up with a little riff that sounds particularly good. I try playing along to popular music, and it passes the time of day and gives me pleasure and stops me from sitting here brooding. Well, a little bit of nonsense to finish off with. My previous video was about dogs, if you've seen it, and I think I might have hit upon the solution to a problem which has been causing canine psychologists a lot of concern, and that is why dogs, when they first meet each other, will insist on sniffing each other's bums. Well, I think I may have discovered the answer in this little poem which I shall read to you, which I got from a very old friend of mine who's sadly died 2 years ago, at age 94, so he was a good age, and he had a very interesting life. He used to work in an acrobatic troupe, and he used to have a little stage show which he did. You wouldn't think so to look at him. But anyway, before he died, he shared some of his poems with me, and this is one of them. It hasn't got a title, but this is it. Some dogs once held a meeting. They came from near and far. Some came by airplane, and some by motor car. Before into the concert hall they were allowed to look, each dog had to remove his bum and hang it on a hook. Hardly were they seated there, each mother, son and sire, when a weather-beaten mongrel rushed in and hollered, "Fire!" They all rushed out in panic mode and did not stop to look. Each dog just grabbed the nearest bum from off the nearest hook. Now you know the reason, friends, on walking down the street, why a dog will stop and swap a smell with every dog he meets. And if you've ever wondered why it is a dog will stray from home, it's to go and smell another's bum in a bid to find his own. Well, little bit of nonsense, badly needed in this ever increasingly troubled world that we seem to live in. Anyway, if it brought you a bit of pleasure and a bit of entertainment, jolly good. And hopefully, as the weather improves, my inspiration will also improve. And I hope to bring you another video very shortly. Till then, keep well. Bye for now.